Science says a painted canvas is completely lifeless. But at exactly 3 a.m., the rules of art preservation simply cease to exist in this gallery. Hundreds of painted eyes snap open in perfect synchronization, tracking an invisible force moving through the dark. I spent the night locked inside the museum to capture the phenomenon on camera. But when the clock struck 3, I realized the eyes weren't tracking an invisible force. They were looking at me. My name is Liam, and I restore old paintings for the City Art Museum. It is a quiet job, spent mostly in the dark, silent galleries after the visitors leave. The trouble started in the 19th century portrait room. I noticed that the paint around the eyes of the portraits was cracking in a strange, repeating pattern. It looked almost like the wear and tear of skin. To find out what was causing it, I set up a high-speed security camera in the center of the gallery. When I checked the footage the next morning, I saw something that should be biologically impossible. At exactly 3 a.m., every single portrait in the room blinked. It was a perfect, synchronized movement. Hundreds of painted eyelids closed and opened in the same fraction of a second. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Last night, I slipped past the security guard and locked myself inside the dark gallery. The silence of a museum at night is heavy. As the minutes ticked closer to 3, the temperature in the room dropped. The air smelled of old dust and fresh oil paint. I sat on the bench in the middle of the room, my flashlight switched off. When the clock struck 3, the stillness shattered. It was not a loud noise. It was a soft, wet sound, like hundreds of people blinking at the exact same moment. I switched on my flashlight and swept the beam across the walls. The portraits were not blinking anymore. They were wide awake. The subjects in the paintings, the lords, the ladies, the children from a century ago, had all shifted their painted eyes. They were no longer looking at the artist's original focus. Every single pair of eyes was turned downward, staring directly at me. I felt a cold sweat run down my neck. I stood up, but as I moved, the painted eyes tracked my movement across the floor. I ran to the heavy gallery doors and pulled the brass handles. They were locked from the outside. I turned back to the room. In the beam of my flashlight, I saw the figures in the canvases begin to shift. Their painted hands were reaching toward the edges of the frames, pulling themselves forward. I stumbled back, my heel catching on the gallery bench. The flashlight fell from my hand, rolling across the wood floor, its beam spinning wildly. Before the light flickered and died, I saw the empty canvases on the wall, and the figures were standing in the shadows of the room, blocking my path.